Hello and welcome to our Friday night movie, which is Shane. One of those films which, once you've seen it, you never really forget it. It's the work of the director George Stevens, who's a little bit currently out of critical favour, and it's probably the best work of its star, Alan Ladd, who, strangely enough, made this film towards the end of his long reign at Paramount, and indeed I think had left that studio by the time the studio realised it had one of his greatest hits on their hands. To get back to George Stevens, the director and the man responsible for Shane, it's interesting to see why he's out of critical favour at this particular time. He goes right back to the beginning of Hollywood with Laurel and Hardy comedies. He directed such well-known films of the 30s as Alice Adams with Katharine Hepburn and Swing Time with Astaire and Rogers, with films like Gunga Din with Cary Grant, a wide variety of movies. And by the 50s, when Shane was made, he was considered one of Hollywood's great directors, and movies such as A Place in the Sun, Giant and Shane followed one after the other, all highly successful, all very critically well received. But like another director who's out of favour, David Lean, Stevens was a bit of a romantic and a perfectionist, and he took endless trouble to get what he wanted. You can see it in Shane, particularly in the shots of the outdoors, which are so beautiful, but which must have been worked over a long time. And in the long run, as the business he was in grew ever more chance and ever more expensive, his manner of working became a liability rather than an asset. And after the 50s, he made only 2 movies before his death in 1975. But Shane stands, in my opinion, as one of the finest of American films with a Western setting, a film in which the striking visuals enhance rather than detract from the simple storyline, the simple characters. So there's poetry as well as violence in Shane, and there's truth as well as myth. The leading players are now either dead or retired from the screen. Van Heflin and Jean Arthur are the homesteaders, Brandon DeWilde, their son, through whose eyes the story unfolds, and Alan Ladd, the stranger, who represents the good in the homesteaders' fight against evil in the person of Jack Palance. And of those 5 actors I've just mentioned, only 2, Jack Palance and Jean Arthur, are still alive, and only Palance still makes movies. Jean Arthur made Shane her last film and then retired from the screen. And of the supporting cast in this film, Ben Johnson, of course, has gone on to become far better known than he was when the movie was made, and Elisha Cook Jr., one of the great character faces of the screen, and whose confrontation here with Palance and Shane is one of the film's more memorable moments, is still around, making the occasional movie at the age of about 77 now he'd be. I think Shane's a lovely work and one of Hollywood's most memorable films with a Western setting. In fact, like all the best Westerns, it isn't really about the West, but about courage, hero worship, friendship, and the eternal struggle between the good and the evil in all of us.